Listen to that. Amazing. A little Beatles to start your Sunday afternoon, a little Ticket to Ride, and of course, continue our conversation here on Gabby Road with Hannah, Fred, and Justin about public transit and ride shares. And on the line right now, we have Jonathan Kauser from Ridester. He's Director of Research for the online portal for people to find all things about ride sharing online. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Justin. It's good to be with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jonathan, on our first, right before you called in here, we were talking about public transit and how, I also am a huge proponent. I use ride shares all the time before the pandemic. First, has ride sharing actually gone down? I mean, I know, of course, we have less cars on the road right now. We've got less drivers, but actually, like from a percentage wise, people are still using Uber and Lyft, correct?
No, incorrect.
They're just not. They're just
They're
everything
really
is just pretty much stopped.
So at Ridester.com, we did a survey the week after the shutdowns began, and we found out that 92% of the drivers told us they were making 80% less than they had the week before.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
where is the primary use of ride sharing going to and from work or events after work?
That is a great question, and you hit on two of the three big ones.
Okay.
It's going to and from, it's going to and from work. It's events, restaurants, bars, sporting events, concerts after work. And it's airport trips. Those are the big three.
Oh, well,
all of those, are shut down. Yeah.
So with all of them shut down, do you feel like the business is kind of, destroyed? And if the answer is yes, which I believe it is at this point, where do you see opportunities to change what the business is so that whether it's an Uber driver or a taxi driver or somebody who does this for a living, how can they come back and make a living?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's dead right now. It's completely dead, and I don't see it coming back for a long, long time, even more than a year maybe, because the big problem is, and this is part of the solution you just asked about, Uber and Lyft both put far more drivers on the road than they need. They did that in the best of times when, they were really busy. They had more drivers than they needed at that time. Now, they're going to have way more drivers than they need because passengers are just not going to rush back. If states open up, it's not like 100% of the passengers are going to come rushing back. A lot of them are going to keep working from home. They're realizing that's not such a bad deal. So there are going to be fewer customers in all these categories. People are going to be afraid to fly for a long time, regardless of whether states open up. So the airport business is going to stay down. And unless Uber and Lyft say, look, we are putting limits, we're not we're not bringing on more drivers than we need. Mm-hmm. We're only going to have as many as we need. We're going to have a waiting list for anyone else who wants to apply. And as current drivers drop off, we will take new drivers on. If they don't do that, the drivers who are working will never make anything. A year ago, 50% of drivers, according to a Ridester.com survey, were making less than $10 an hour. So, and that's because they have far more drivers than they need.
Right. But are a lot of drivers hesitating in coming back because they're concerned for their own safety?
I'll tell you, I did this, and a lot of drivers did this a week before the shutdowns here in New York City, which was on March 16th. Mm-hmm. A week before that, a passenger got in my car, and they coughed. And suddenly I freaked out, and I thought, what am I doing here? I got to get out of here.
Right.
And when I dropped that passenger off, I turned off the app, and I headed home, and I haven't driven since. That's before the shutdown.
Right.
A lot of drivers were already, cutting back on their driving. They were already stopping.
Do you see any move towards these drivers becoming more apt to be delivery drivers, whether they're delivering food, whether they're delivering medicine? And is that a business model that can sustain the industry, at least in the short term?
Well, that's a good question. You know, the week after it happened, after the shutdowns began, I was surprised. The people who had already been delivery drivers started telling us that their business went way down, and we couldn't figure out why. And I thought about it, and I realized it's because a lot of those customers had lost their jobs too.
Right.
So they're thinking, wait, food ordered for delivery from restaurants is the most expensive way I can get food. I better head out to Walmart and get my own food.
Right.
You know, but in the weeks since then, we're hearing from these drivers that the business is actually picking up. Instacart drivers are apparently doing pretty well right now. And those are the guys who go in and into a grocery store and shop a customer's list and then deliver it to the customer. It's hard work, but apparently they're making okay money right now, better than they were before. So that might be a good alternative, at least for the medium term.
And Jonathan, what have Uber and Lyft done as far as safety precautions for the drivers and such? I have to admit, again, somebody that has used the app probably almost on a daily basis. I haven't even logged into either of them since, like you said, March 16th, 17th, about that time. But what are some of the things that they have put into place to at least make people maybe feel a little more comfortable?
Well, in the beginning, around the middle of March, Uber said they were going to send hand sanitizer to all the drivers, which, of course, they were never able to because they couldn't get their hands on the sanitizer any better than anyone else could. So after that, they then advised drivers to sanitize their cars, once a day in the mornings before they start driving. I thought, well, you got to sanitize your car between every passenger. You can sanitize it in the morning, and then 2 passengers later, somebody with the coronavirus gets in your car and coughs, and now germs are all over your car. You have to do it after every passenger. You don't know who has it, right?
And you mentioned that someone coughed in your car, and it was like, oh my God, I got to get out of this business. I'm not doing this anymore, at least not for right now.
Right.
So put yourself in the consumer. Put yourself on the consumer side. What can we as consumers do that would make you? Is there a list of what we can do that will make you feel safe to be a driver?
Well, I mean, Uber just is starting a new rule on this tomorrow, Monday, which honestly I don't know why they didn't start this 5 or 6 or 8 weeks ago. But tomorrow they're going to require drivers and passengers to wear a mask, which I think is a great idea.
Absolutely.
I think all passengers and riders and drivers should have been wearing masks all along. And I also advise riders and drivers to roll their windows down when they get in these cars so they get some air circulation and they're not cooped up in a tiny, volume of airspace with somebody else. But so they're going to require that starting tomorrow. Honestly, I would feel safe if I'm wearing a mask, the customer's wearing a mask, and I have the windows cracked so there's some good air circulation. I would feel okay about that.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a question. I've put myself, when we were prepping for this, I put myself in this situation because, a lot of these drivers, and you can tell me if I'm wrong with this, but are doing this as a side hustle. So this is their family car, their personal vehicle. And then to sanitize it in the morning is one thing, but they also need to then put potentially their kids or, their mom into that same vehicle. And that's where it becomes a little bit more stressful for me. For sure, the gloves and the masks can definitely help. They're not going to hurt. I don't believe, but it's one of those things where you have to limit exposures as much as you can. And it's interesting to me to think about how this was such a blessing for so many people to be able to make money on their own terms and do decently. And now they could at least maybe pay for their car, keep that car payment, that car note going. We have a comment on Facebook that says she's not going to feel comfortable getting into it. We're not out of the woods, and we won't be for a couple of years. So interesting, to say the least. Maybe parking garages are the way to go. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. And to Fred's, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you make so many good points. And the thing you said about families, that's absolutely right. I have a family. I have a wife. I have 2 little kids. One's 4, one's 1.
Oh.
Our mother-in-law lives with us. She's in her 70s. She's not in great health. these are all people I want to take care of. And
Right.
I thought about that. I thought, what if I do go out and drive? I
Right.
might feel safe, but there could be a clump of germs on the back seat that I didn't clean, and my
Right.
wife gets in, or one of my children gets in and touches it, and then suddenly they have it.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's a very, very perceptive of you to think about that.
Yeah, for the drivers primarily, I'm wondering how many will feel safe and when they'll feel safe going back. It's one thing to earn some extra money, but if you're risking your health and that of your family, it's a little bit different than disinfecting for your next passenger. So, yeah,
That's right.
it's
That's right.
it like you said, Instacart. Those people are heroes. They have made my life so much better during this. And to be quite honest, those type of food delivery service, like grocery delivery service, has kept a lot of people out of the stores and limited exposure for so many. So these are, again, not that I want to be going through this, but thank goodness these exist while we're going through this, because it has kept more people out of the stores and kept them healthier. So our thanks to Jonathan Kauser from Ridester.com. Best to you and your family, and to all of those gig drivers who have made our lives simpler and hopefully will again very soon. Gabby Road with Hannah, Fred, and Justin. We're going to be talking to Marty Duncan from the Food Network. We've been talking about cooking during quarantine, and she's the girl to talk to. Next on Gabby Road.